So I want to add a few disclaimers to this video real quick. This video is about the state of the public community right now of Storm 4 2021. That being said, this is kind of hard to make, and there's going to be a few things I'm going to have to address before we continue this video. So one of the things I got to address is kind of like the history of has puppets always been separate from normal characters or the Naruto community as a whole? Because Storm 4 puppets are completely separate. Like there is a whole puppet community, and then there's the Naruto community, and we are part of the Naruto community, but the Naruto community is not part of us. So has that always been like that? How has the puppet community has it been meta like this and that? Like I kind of have to talk about a few things before I can really go how I feel personally. So this is the non-biased segment, right? This is where it's completely non-biased. This is completely where I don't put my opinion, my feelings, or anything involved. The bias segment will come later, and I think you guys will absolutely hate me, but that's fine. So the state of the puppet community has always been weird because, puppets. It's not like now where we know they're trash, but they're still controversial because a lot of people are inexperienced and they don't know how to play against puppets, or uh, there are puppet masters that has made puppets work, like Older Conqueror and Switch Tech. So it's weird, right? But they're still overall trash. Like puppets are trash in Storm 4. Rev, we're going backwards here. So Rev is weird. Not weird. I'm sorry. Not it is and it isn't. It's not like Storm 3 weird, but Rev, it is weird because Rev is literally the easiest game to pick up puppets. Like if you are a casual, like if you're a normal player, like right, uses like Naruto, Sasuke, can use like normal characters, right? And you don't use puppets. Rev is the game to play puppets for you because Rev, they were the most normal character like, and I remember people who never used puppets were using Sorcery or Conqueror or Shio and Rev. And, granted, they weren't good, but they were still, decent enough beating people, and then they could make their way up learning puppets in Rev. Because Rev were complete puppets and Rev were completely different than Storm 3 and below, right? Now we get to like Storm 3. Oh, also puppets were the most balanced in that game in my opinion. Like not balanced like overall a character, like the most balanced characters, but I think like how like the controversy with puppets and balancing, I think that game that was their most balanced game for them. Like I don't think they were like too broken, but I don't think they were too trash. I think they were all around just good. I think Rev was an all around balanced game, but people can argue with me. Don't say the counter system because we all know the counter system is stupid. But I digress. Um, Storm 3. Storm 3 is where it gets really weird in the segue because Storm 3 breaks away the norms of what puppets were in Storm 2 and Generations, and they want to get, and this is where Rev breaks it off, and they want to get to where they are like more normal characters, so they get to more like what we have them now. But they were really janky. How do you really explain Storm 3 puppets? They were really weird because like Storm 3 puppets, like this is where you have to kind of separate Xbox and PlayStation real quick. So Xbox has always had a puppet community and puppet meta, right? Even Rev, we had a meta. Storm 3, even puppets were meta. We've always had a puppet meta. PlayStation, you guys have not. And I'm not saying, this disclaimer real quick, I'm not saying who's better between PlayStation and Xbox. I am just stating from what I know from top players during that time, from what I know from playing during that time, and from what I know from players now who know about the game. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And also someone who played when Storm 3, Storm 2, and Trilogy came out. And, a lot of players from Storm 3 came back and actually talking to them again and trying to, some things I remembered, blah, blah, blah. And some things I probably don't. But, this is all opinions and all people, not opinions, but this is all facts that people have told me. and from what I see, basically, also. PlayStation, you guys have not had a puppet community at all. You guys not really like. The thing is, like, PlayStation did not play Storm 3 sweaty like we did. Like, I'm not saying who's better, but all I'm saying is you guys, some of you guys did, but you guys did not play like we did, like, at all. Like, we broke that fucking game, yo. Like, Jesus. Um, and you guys never really had a puppet community. Like, after Generations, you guys have not had a puppet community. Kind of at all. Like, even in Rev, you guys had not a puppet meta, and in Storm 4, you guys definitely did not. So, you guys never had any puppet. You guys had, like, this offset, like, oh, that guy uses sorcery, but that's about all you guys had. You guys didn't have, like, in Xbox, I can name at least over 15 players right now, and those were all puppet players, right? There's, like, 15 right off the bat, and that's Xbox Storm 3. But were puppets really meta Storm 3? Yes and no. Like, they were really good, and they were definitely, like, I'm not saying they were trash, but you're not gonna be a Minato runaway unless you know that Shio tech. And even then, no one knew that Shio tech, so I'm not going to say unless you know that Shio tech, because that is way too specific, and that is a tech that was not meta back then when Xbox played. So, that being said, when I introduced it and made it where it could be meta, where you had to use, but you have to, the problem is with that, and what people don't understand, is with that Shio tech, you really have to know the Minato matchup, or the Konan matchup, whatever runaway they're using, but the other problem is, those supports do not help you defend. So if that Minato knows how to get in and, does damage to you, you can't really do anything back. Like, let's just be honest. So that's another problem. So Runaway really killed puppets in that game. Puppets were really good against Hanzo, and puppets were semi-decent against Nagato. Nagato's damage really too broken. Kiba is still a puppet counter, so imagine how it was in Storm 3, especially before that patch. Ugh. Um, Older Conqueror was not that good. I mean, he was decent, but not that good. Not compared to, like, Shio and Sasori. Shio was definitely the best puppet in that game. It's just a lot of people didn't know how to use her that much. So Sasori was the meta puppet of Storm 3 during the time when it was out. That being said, it's weird because also, like, a lot of people wanted to debate if puppets should be in CBs and stuff like that, and if they should be considered no rule or with rules, right? Like, it could, can you use puppets with rules, but you have to use a team name or something like that. Like, are you allowed to do that or no? And there were some clans that allowed it, and then some clans said no, they were only allowed for no rules because they're still stupidly broken. So they were really controversial in Storm 3. I remember how like, oh my god. And that was a problem also, being a puppet user. You were hated back then. You were shitted on, right? It wasn't until, like, very late Rev where, like, it wasn't really until Storm 4 until I even got praised using puppets. I've never been uh shit on for using puppets in Storm 4. I've always been praised. Always. I've always had compliments. And, I've had people say, oh, I just don't like fighting against puppets. Fair, but I've never had anyone bash me for using them or bash me because of my playstyle. But boy, 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 boy. And back then, if you were a puppet user, you were on everyone's shit list. Like, they're like, I remember everyone, they were like, Shadowlink's kill? Nah, no, 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 we don't like him. Why? Because he's a puppet user. Like, a lot of people didn't even know who I was. Like, they didn't even know who I am, and they were like, "Oh, we don't like him because he's a puppet user." Garbage. And I would get messages, like, people would tell me to kill myself for using puppet. Like, and you think I'm exaggerating? No, I'm not. Like, go ask, like, older puppet players. Like, we were on the short end of the stick. Like, y'all don't understand. Like, we were shit on. So, and that's another thing also about the puppet community, is there was a lot of puppet players that the puppet community knew, but, like, Naruto meta, like, the Naruto people would not know. And, like, the best example I could say, like, today would be, like, Mato Yugashita. A lot of new Storm 4 players, because a lot of Storm 4 players are purely Storm 4 players. Like, they did not play older generations like me and these other people, or the few other people. Um, they don't know who Mato Yugashita is, right? But if you are going to be learning puppets or be part of the puppet community, right? If you're gonna be part of the puppet community, because I mean, if you learn puppets, you're a part of the puppet community. Um, or if you are an older player, or if you're a puppet master to this day, you know who Mato is. Like everyone knows who that is, right? But a lot of people don't know today because they're Storm 4 players and they're not puppet masters. And Mato only uses, like, he can use other characters. I'm not saying he can't. Um, but he only uses puppets, and he's only really interested in doing puppet mirrors because he wants to be the best puppet master. Of course, my dog barks. I hate that dog so much. So, I really don't. I love that dog, but why are you barking? I had to scare him. Sorry. I was not planned for that, and I'm not redoing this video. Anyways, so, but he only really cares about being the best puppet master because he really has been. He's been the best puppet master for over 7 years. 2014. So maybe even earlier. I don't know, but I can remember him being the best puppet master in 2014, and I quit at Rev in 2015 because Rev came out August 2015, September 2015. So um, yeah, that's the best example I have for today or for today's. But like older would be like Hanako Blossoms and Kill Saucer Haters. Like a lot of different Kill Saucer Haters on Xbox Storm 3, different Kill Saucer Haters. But a lot of people didn't really know who Kill Saucer Haters was or Hanako Blossom was. But like a lot of puppet masters, like Hero, or also Stewie is a good example. But like Hero of Ways, Mato, oh god, what's his name? Shizo did not that Shizo. Lazy did play a little bit. There was Pikachu. He wasn't that bad. Uh, there's a few more, but those people were top meta puppet players, right? But like Hanako Blossoms and Kill Saucer Haters, or AKA me, I'm a perfect example of this. Were not. Like a lot of puppet players knew who I was. Like a lot of puppet players knew who I was, but I wasn't a top player in the meta because I wasn't that good with puppets to beat Runaway, or I wasn't that good with puppets to beat Hanzo. Whereas like these other puppet players that were part of the meta in these top 20 lists, obviously they were smart enough to be on that list, right? So, like I'm a perfect example that I wasn't known in the meta at all, but I was known in the puppet community. Like anyone who was a puppet user knew who I was, right? I was not a dead name in the older games. And when I say I was considered a top player in those games, is because I was in a puppet meta. I was because I was able to be Hero of Ways, Stewie, um, Bonsai Master, Hanaka Blossoms, um, a lot of actually Heavens, and there was also some people in Cancel Kings. I can't remember that name. God, I can't remember his name, but he was a sorcerer user, and I beat him all the time. Etc., etc. So, like in the public community, yes, I was definitely I was definitely a top, or not one of, but I was definitely a top player. But in the whole like Storm 3 community, I was not. Absolutely not. I was a trash player. So that being said, Generations of Storm 2, there were concrete dead set. I mean, puppets were meta. Like, it was Sorcery and PTS Conqueror. That's all you needed to know. And if you knew how to use those two, boom, you fucking mastered those two games. That's all I need to say. So, this game is kind of in the same boat. Yes and no. Like, in this game, they're not controversial other than Older Conqueror, and Older Conqueror is not even controversial anymore. He was when we first discovered him, but he's not anymore. Like we all know he's like a mid-tier, low-tier A character. Like there is no reason why he needs to be lower or higher. He does not need to be high A or S tier, and he does not need to be B at all. He needs to be where he's at. So he's the only controversial character. Other than that, I mean, if you want to say she was Awakening, sure, but that's not controversial at all because there's other Broken Awakenings that you would rather use a Donzo Awakening because Donzo's a better character where Shio is not. Right, you have to work a lot harder to use Shio and her awakening. With Donzo, you don't. It's a perfect example like that. So there's no question about it. So that being said, the public community is kind of extremely separate when it comes to Storm 4. Unlike the other games, where the other games they were kind of integrated into the meta still and everything, and they were controversial and they were definitely hated, but they weren't as separate like they are now. Now The puppet community is part of the Naruto community, but the Naruto community is not part of the puppet community at all. Whereas in the older days, they kind of integrated together, where now they don't at all. Um, and I don't want that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want that. That was never my goal. My goal was to create a puppet community when I came back in 2017 because, let's just be honest, 2016, there was sorcery. Now, this is where I'm going to kind of go non-biased because the Save community, I kind of admitted it, like right there. It's completely separate and it's small. That's basically all I'm going to say. It's a small, scarce, and it's completely separate. So there's the non-bias, and basically that. Here comes the bias. Now, I also want to another disclaimer. When I mention names, I do not mean anything bad. I am not trying to out them. I am not trying to trash talk about them at all. I respect a lot of these players. I may not like them, but some of them I do respect, and if I don't respect them, I will say it. So, that being said, I also want to say that right now. I'm just naming names because you guys are top players, or you guys are known players, and we are talking about a Naruto game, so this is why I mention players. It's kind of the same with Smash Bros. You're going to mention top players when you're trying to point out points about characters, which aka puppet players, or puppets. So, like in Storm 4, when it came out in February 2016, the only really puppet users was Sorcery Specialist and Danica that was representative. Yeah, you had Mado who did play, but he didn't really play again with the Naruto community, like with the meta. Sorcery Specialist and Danica did. But they quit after the 2017 February patch, right? And I came in March of 2017, and there was no puppet users. Like Shizo didn't even really come around until I think April. So there was no one. So when I came back, my goal was to at least create a puppet community and create a little thing, right? And for the 2 years of the community, I did. I did exactly that. And you know what? I am absolutely happy what I accomplished at the very end because not only when I came back there was no puppets, there was no puppet tech, there was no puppet help. I don't so like again, Sorcerer Specialist did not play. Mado did not help. He did not play in our community. Kenzoku did not even use puppets, and when he did, it was against puppet mirrors. Kuriyami did not play, and when he did not use puppets because he did play a little bit, but he used Shino, so he did not use puppets. Um, so some of the or Dilica did not use puppets back then either. He didn't even use puppets until me, Shizo, and us started getting, and Kenzoku started getting into the market because it was us three that was in CBs and into the in tournaments and all that, and then there was Dilica and Mado started getting on the market too, or map. I'm sorry, not market. You guys are delicious though. Anyways, so that being said, there wasn't really much, and we didn't have much tech or nothing. So when I came in, we all have completely different playstyles. Like if you say that every Puppet Master has the same playstyle, you're dumb. Like that's like me saying every Sasuke user has the same playstyle. And if you say no, that's not true, then don't say that about puppets because that's not true. I play completely different than someone like Shizo, Sorcery Specialist. Someone like Dilica plays completely different than me, right? I play completely different than Mado. We all play differently than Mado Yagashita. No one can mimic his playstyle. No one can mimic Mado, right? That's what I'm saying is just because we use puppets, just because we have the same toys, is no different than you having Sasuke, Naruto, or Pain. It's no different. You guys, I can, perfect example, I do not respect this playstyle, and this is where I'm going to talk about this segue, and then we're going to go back on this, right? So I'm going to segue to this real quick. The puppet community right now, I'm kind of, I'm disappointed, but it is what it is, and what I mean by that is like, so when I quit in 2019, I never had a complaint about my playstyle. I had people say, "Oh, I don't like playing puppets, but I like playing against you, or I don't have a problem playing against you. I just don't like playing against puppets." Fair, great, because I hate fighting against puppets too. God, I fucking hate fighting against them. Why do you think I make videos? Why do you think my whole goal was to try to make puppets as normal as possible, right? And I did that, and I'm a solo puppet main. I don't switch tech, I don't do anything. So imagine If I did. Now, there are sometimes I have to play defensive or run away because that's just a puppet playstyle. Like, you do have to sometimes. But if I switch tech, oh god, I would never, ever. I would be 100% aggressive on your ass if I actually took the time and learned switch tech. I just didn't because my whole goal was I wanted to teach people and I wanted to show people that you could solo puppet. You can still use puppets, and not only that, but you can solo with them. You didn't have to switch tech. And I did that. I did that. So did Shizo. We did that. We did. I went a tournament, CBs. I won so much shit, and I was considered a top player. And you know what's funny? I wasn't even trying. I was just using solo puppets and learning how what works and what didn't work, and so I can teach people and show people. And so maybe other people can switch tech, like Delica, who did it beautifully and did change the meta, aka Konkuro, is all thanks to him. He changed the puppet meta. He changed the Naruto meta, not the puppet meta, the Naruto meta. And that's kind of where I wanted. I wanted to change the puppet meta, but I really wanted someone else to really, do it. And you know what? I found a student, and I thought he was going to do that. And I don't blame him for not. But what happened to the puppet community, real quick, um, is after I quit in 2019, the puppet community kind of just died. And I'm not saying that because of bias reasons. I'm saying that because what I've seen, what I've heard, and let's just talk about some things real quick, right? Sorcery Specialist doesn't even use puppets anymore. Chase 790, who I taught use puppets, he became on the map because of his puppet work in Switch Tech, right? By the time he quit, he wasn't even using puppets. He only used puppets when he's going 100% serious. But even then, he wasn't using puppets. Sorcery Specialist is not using puppets. Kenzoku is not using puppets. Kirigami no longer plays, so there's barely any puppet people who do play. You have Silver, who I've heard pretty good things about, but I don't know much about him. 2Billionaire, a pretty good puppet user. I'm glad that he's a representative and still rocking hard with them. Because I remember when I quit, he was learning them, early 2018 or late 2018, early 2019, and that's about it. That's all the puppet community has had as representative. Because Seraphocy got busy with life. Saucery OG doesn't even play. He only plays with friends when they ask, or he only gets on with friends. That's it. Kenzoku only plays Xbox, and even then, Art of Puppetry does not do anything for the puppet. He plays and he's really good, but like, he doesn't. He's not there. Um, there hasn't been any representation because the representation has been either they're gone or they don't use puppets anymore. Playco doesn't even use puppets anymore. He was he main Konkuro for the longest time and doesn't even use puppets anymore. Like for example. But ever since I've came back, I've been seeing, like the past month. I've been back for 2 months now. The past month, I've seen nothing but people use puppets, or people being interested in learning puppets, or people keep asking me to teach them, or people keep asking me about puppets, or people keep messaging me, or people keep annoying me. Like, I'm making this video mainly because how many people are annoying me. Just how much they want to learn puppets or how intrigued. And it's so fascinating because I keep saying they're trash. And then I had this one guy say to me, and that I resonated with him, and he was like, "You're being hypocritical." And I was like, "Oh, someone's going to be honest with me now. All right, let's do this, buddy. How am I being hypocritical?" And he was like, "You say puppets are trash, and you say people shouldn't learn sorcery, Konkuro, they should only learn Order Konkuro, right? But here you are using Order Konkuro, Shio, and Meta, and trying to prove people wrong." And right there, I just shut up, and I was like, that's fair enough. I never thought of it that way. So, uh, and he also said to me, another reason why is if you really love something, you're going to put a determination. And, this is a guy that wants to learn sorcery, and he was like, "I really want to learn sorcery, and I don't fucking care if he sucks. I will put in determination to learn him." And I was like, all right then. And that's another thing. The community isn't dead. Oh my god, I thought the community was going to be dead. I literally came back and I was just like over here assuming that the game was dead. No, it is not. I don't know why. Like the game is not dead. I've actually seen more people play than I have in the past few years. My God, I don't have a problem getting ranked matches. I don't have a problem getting endlesses. I don't have a problem finding YouTube videos. I don't have a problem finding streams. I have no problems at all with anything. And they might not be much, but that's also people not even doing a simple search bar. Like, I literally look up Naruto Storm 4 streams or videos and I find all kinds of shit. And they're late. I mean, not late, but like the late is, right? They're 2021, you know. I literally just watched a stream from this guy who literally only had like 2 views from his stream. I don't remember his name right now. My laptop is dead. But I was watching him, and it just proves that the game is not dead. There's so much streamers. There's so much going on. It's just we need not only more people, but what we need is more representation, more tournaments, and new stuff. You know, new meta, new breaking stuff. And you know what? Storm 4, it's a pretty broken game, and it's still pretty unutilized. I'm not going to lie. And if you guys think, oh no, this game's dead, or no, this game is blah, 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 then you're stupid. You're not creative. You're not smart. You're not thinking outside the box. You just want to be inside your little box, and you just want to stick to your own little bubble and use your same little fucking characters because that's the way you think you're being good. Let me tell you, you're not. You're trash. This game has a lot more in it, and we still have a lot more work to do, and a lot more characters are still left to be undiscovered, in my opinion. And a lot of other people agree with me, too. This is the Adjuster Gambler, the egotistical out, and I think we are doing good for the future. Thank you.